Despite protests and boycotts, President Trump spent part of the weekend in a state with a rich history of racial discrimination, praising some of the figures that worked to dismantle that racism. But the visit resurfaced a common criticism of the president and his relationship with those Americans who arguably benefited most from the movement. After touring Mississippi Civil Rights Museum exhibits telling the stories of activists who were beaten, jailed, and even killed for protesting racism in America, Trump spoke at a private ceremony commemorating the Jackson Museum's opening. The Civil Rights Museum records oppression, cruelty, and injustice inflicted on the African American community, he said. The fight to end slavery, to break down Jim Crow, to end segregation, to gain the right to vote and to achieve the sacred birthright of equality, that's big stuff. The lack of approval for Trump's appearance and speech was in part rooted in a frequent criticism from observers of the president's relationship with black voters that emerged during the earliest days of the campaign. Trump's speeches about black people aren't actually about black people, they are about winning the support of white people. Polling shows that most Americans believe Trump has encouraged white supremacists during a time when many Americans still consider being racist socially unacceptable. But despite the president's previous condemnation of white supremacist groups, some of the president's critics believe he is more concerned with winning the support of white voters uncomfortable with supporting a leader who stokes white supremacy than he is in attracting the support of black voters. The Washington Post's Philip Bump wrote about this when Trump launched into his pitch to black voters on the campaign trail in Dimondale, Michigan, a city whose population is less than 1% black. It's likely that Trump's continuing lack of meaningful outreach to black voters keeps him from understanding effective ways of arguing his case. When he went to Baton Rouge to see flood damage, he stopped at a Baptist church with a mostly white congregation. Or maybe black voters aren't his intended audience. Maybe, with his poll numbers low thanks to soft support from his own party, Trump is trying to convince Republicans that he wants or can earn the black vote. As on the trail, Trump's speech Saturday was delivered to a largely white audience. And that is the community most likely to look graciously at Trump's decision to tour the museum. The president was already planning to be in the Deep South, having spent Friday at a Pensacola, Florida, rally asking voters to support Roy Moore, the Alabama U.S. Senate candidate recently criticized for suggesting that slavery was the last time America was great. Roy Moore, America was great in era of slavery, is now focus of evil in the world. Trump was invited to the museum's official opening, the capstone of Mississippi's bicentennial celebration, by the state's Republican governor, who endorsed the president after his state's conservative voters chose Trump in the Republican primary. But among others, particularly those with a longer relationship with the civil rights movement than the president, Trump was anything but welcome.